So you still got half, 2.5 that haven't yet passed. Are you going to call a special session for those or for any other reason?
You know, the special session conversation is happening as we speak. I just had conversation with leadership here, and when I say leadership, I'm talking about the Senate and Assembly as early as yesterday. There's some significant pieces of business that didn't make it through the normal process I think we should address. So we're figuring that out, and whether we can defer it to the next session or whether there's a need to do it here in the short term. So it's a matter of process.
And this would be independent of any changes that the federal government is going to do.
Right, so I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the original decisions on a special session was what was going to happen with Medicaid, Medicare in the one big beautiful bill, right? And how would that affect our ability to fund those particular programs in the interim? So I was leaving my powder dry per se to make a determination on a special session as a result of that. Well, that pain didn't come to fruition in our next biennium. So the evaluations by my healthcare people in Medicaid, Medicare, and then other aspects of the bill didn't come forward, you know, and title funding in education, that wasn't withheld, that has recently come forward. So a lot of those things that we were in a quandary or wondering about are being deferred 2 years out, 2027, where we will have to address as part of the regular legislative session, but as part of a special session, it's not necessary.
Yeah, so any cuts that will happen won't happen in the next biennium until
there may be a modicum of cuts, but we'll be able to absorb it in our existing general fund.
What about that film tax credit? Is that part of the special session conversation?
Yeah, it's continuing to be part of the conversation. You know, as the governor, it's my responsibility to look out for our taxpayers, our constituents, and it's also my responsibility to create an environment of economic development, right? Government's not necessarily in the jobs business. We're in the environment business. We create environment through regulations, lack of regulation, everything else we can for businesses to be successful. It's incumbent upon businesses to develop the jobs associated with that, right? So I don't want anybody construing my message that I just conveyed to you as I don't care about jobs. Yes, it's a primary functionality of the governor's position, but it's also the overarching piece is creating an environment for those jobs to be brought here and to be had. So that's what we're discussing as part of the film tax credit. You know, there's several. I almost want to couch it or give it the nomenclature or the title as not as a film tax credit, but as a jobs bill. So.
And the proponents certainly say it would create quite
right,
a few
and you know, and the big piece about it, you know, you're going to have pros and cons on both sides, naysayers and supporters, you know, on both sides. And the big piece on this film tax bill is it's somewhat recession-proof. So, you know, if you look at back into the COVID area, the businesses that suffered as a result of the shutdowns and COVID, the production, the media business model didn't suffer. It suffered in some modicum with the actors and stuff, but as far as the production pieces and development of media content, it didn't suffer as much. So this is an industry that can help us, one, diversify the economy, two, jobs, and three is help us be recession-proof. And, you know, God forbid another pandemic or, you know, the proliferation of gaming across the United States that has a negative effect on our bottom line here.
Yeah, and it is still one of the great American industries.
Right, so there's some things that I need to do as part of the governor and concern for my constituents and taxpayers on how I can minimize that credit and how I can minimize the negative effect of providing tax credits. So.
Yeah, because it is an expensive bill. It would be the most expensive tax credit in the history of the state of Nevada.
Right, and the other thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, and people say, well, why wouldn't you do it anyway? I mean, the revenue outpaces the credit, right? And it's good for all, but there's a lot of tax credits that's happened in previous years that are still in place through the Governor's Office of Economic Development for the in placing or bringing in of other industries.
Yeah.
So it's a total number that you have to evaluate its face.